Recording. Okay. So we got everything up and running. All right. So we are back to the project now. So what I want to do is to show you different combinations to run your program in App Inventor, depending on the one of the four squares. Let me show the four squares again. In Moodle. Okay. So this particular table shows you, what possibilities are available to you depending on whether you can bring your own laptop computer or whether you want to use the lab computer, whether you have your own Android physical device or whether you want to use a virtual Android device. Okay, so this shows you the four possibilities. Okay, so let's say you have your own PC and you have your own Android device, then you have the most options available. According to this, you can use a USB connection to connect your laptop computer directly to your Android device and use that for debugging. Or you can use the QR code approach, which is not going to be interactive for debugging. Now, there's really no real interactive debugging in App Inventor. Basically, you write your app, it runs on the Android device. It's really just a matter of, is it going to be really easy to get the app running on the Android device, or is it like 1 or 2 steps a little more involved to get it to run? So I'm going to show you how to use a QR code to get your App Inventor app onto an Android device and make it run. Okay. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So what I'll do is turn off the video light of my USB camera here and use my own phone as an example. So let's see. So we go back to the app here, same app, and this time what I want to do is not to use Connect, because this time I'm not using an emulator. I'm not using AI Companion. AI Companion is actually quote-unquote the best way to do it, but on this campus we have a problem because the Wi-Fi connection is running through a firewall, which basically makes the first option, the AI Companion option, not usable, because a device on our Wi-Fi cannot initiate a connection to another device on the Wi-Fi network. Okay, and you need that in order for AI Companion to work. Emulator is not going to work because I'm trying to show you how not to use the emulator. USB would work, but you need to install the driver. So we're not going to use any one of these 3 approaches, and instead I'm going to go to build, which basically built the actual APK file, the actual Android package. And there are 2 ways to do it. The first way is to provide a QR code so that the camera on your cell phone can take a picture of the QR code and go to the link and download the APK file directly. So I'm going to show you that approach first. Okay. And I have to make sure my phone has Google Goggle or some QR code scanner installed already. So Google Goggles is installed. I'm going to get it started here and select this option on the screen. So it will take a little bit of time. It will show you it's compiling and preparing and packaging and stuff like that. Depending on how many people are using this server at the same time, this can take like literally just 1 or 2 seconds, or it might take you a little bit more time. So this time is really quick. So what I do is I put my phone to take a picture of the QR code, and let me see if I can turn on the camera so you can see what is on my phone. Okay, so go to multimedia. And we want VLC again. Oh, it's not going to start a new one because one is already here. I have to start one new. And I want to open capture device, video 1. Okay. A little blurry. So I can refocus. And because I want to save my battery for Pokemon Go, I have the screen at the lowest possible intensity. So I'm going to crank that up a little bit. Okay. Okay. So that's brighter. course, everything is sideways. There's an easy way to change this. Go to Effects and Filters, Visual Effect. We want to rotate. There we go. And I want to zoom in just a little more. Like so. Okay. Okay. All right. So what I did was I took a picture of the QR code. So I go to Google Goggles. It took a picture, and you can see that it provided this text here, and so I just need to click it. Oh, that's not it. It didn't pick up the QR code. Let me try one more time. That's not the link that I wanted to pick up. Okay. Try one more time. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this time it picked it up correctly, because last time it was picking up more screen area than just the QR code, and it was trying to interpret all of the other stuff and gave me the wrong link. So this time we got the right stuff. You can see from the link here, it says http ai2.appinventor.mit.edu, and it has the link to the actual APK file. So I just click that, and it should start to download the application. And you can see it's trying to download First Class, which you probably remember was the name of the project. So we just have to click yes, we want to download this, click the cloud thing, and it's already downloaded. It's only 1.45 megabytes, and you can see there's a download complete notification here. Just click that and install. Should not require any special permission, because there's no camera and modules like that. And I just open it, and this is the same app as the other one. So I can use a number like 200 in the first text box, use another number. Let's try 999 here. And the sum of these two numbers should be 1199. So I click add, and it shows 1199. So this is the way to do it. If you have your own Android device, this is a really reliable way to run the application on your Android device. Unfortunately, this won't work if you're using the emulator, because the emulator doesn't have a camera to see the QR code. Is that okay so far? How many people have an Android device that you can bring with you to class? Okay, well, just about the majority. Okay, if you do not have an Android device, that is available, you can shop for one. I don't think they're too expensive. So let's see, Android tablet. Well, here's one. Samsung Galaxy View in black, but with installment. Okay, let's go to Wood. How many people use Wood? Like 10 p.m. every single day, you have to get onto Wood. No one? Okay, here's an addict. So you go to the electronics, part of Wood. They usually have some mobile devices. I just want to give you an idea of how much you can expect to pay for something that is usable for this class, but not really like super duper. Nope, they don't have one here. So let's go to Amazon and look for that. Oh, there you go. You have a Blue Advanced 5.0 unlocked dual SIM smartphone. I don't even need to use the smartphone part. I just want to use it as an Android device to debug the application. So $60, and this is not even the cheapest one. So for those of you who do not have an Android device to bring to the class, just kind of shop around a little bit. If you think the price is acceptable, just buy an Android device. If not, you can still use the emulator. But if you use the emulator, you need to have your own PC or be able to boot from the USB drive. So were you able to boot from the USB drive?
Yeah, I'm actually installing Knox right now.
Okay. Just don't do anything to the internal hard drive and make it.
I won't touch it.
Okay. So, either approach will work. Just, pick your own method. And are there any questions about how to get your apps to work in this class? No? Okay, so I would just say, between the QR code approach and the emulator approach, one or the other should work for you. Any questions? No questions? Okay, does anyone have any question about how to get assignments done in this class? Like, how do I get my apps to work? Which is basically what we have been doing. Questions? Okay, not a problem. Okay. So what we'll do next is to kind of go through the interface, because I did not really quite explain all of the different parts. So I'm going to spend some time to do that now. Okay, this wider screen is really helpful because it does make this screen a little bit easier to view. Okay, and I need to refresh auto setup. It's missing some parts to the left-hand side. Yep.
Do we turn in assignments as like APKs or
AIA.
okay?
Yeah, so you need to turn in the homework as an AIA file so I can see the source code.
Okay, is it okay if we run a local instance of App Adventure as long as we just get it in an AIA form?
As long as I can get your AIA file and get it to work on my end, it's going to be okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to give you guys a quick explanation of what we are seeing here on this screen. On the left, okay, first of all, we are on the designer view. You can see that designer is the one that is highlighted here, which means, this gives you the screen to design the user interface, the overall layout of controls and whatnot. On the left-hand side, we have the user interface, layout, media, and stuff like that. These are things that you can get, these are components they can drag into the screen of your application. Okay? Each one has its own help. For instance, if you want to know how to use a text box, locate the text box here, click the question mark next to text box, and it will give you a fairly short description of the text box and the properties related to the text box, just a brief explanation. If you want more information, just click more information here, and it will bring up a full web page that will tell you about a text box and also what you can do with a text box. Okay, so these are things that you can do to a text box. Are there any questions about how to look up help for specific components that you see on the left-hand side? If you want a component to be in your application, you just drag it in. So if I want a date picker, which is good for specifying a date, you just drag it, and then you can drop it to either, to between the components or as the first or the last component. So you can see the thick blue line, that's the insertion point. If I want the date to be between the two text boxes, I can put it here. Now, let's say I put it at the wrong space, okay? You can always drag it and reposition it, just like that. Okay? Any questions about the leftmost and then the next the viewer pane of the of App Inventor? Any questions about these two? Questions? Yep, go ahead.
Is there a way to change the layout flow?
The layout of your app or the layout of App Inventor?
Flow of how it lays out.
Unfortunately, I don't think there are options to change the layout of App Inventor itself. Now, on the other hand, if you don't like, everything being, flushed to the left and only be able to have one item per, horizontally, that can be changed. Okay, so if that's your question, then you have a lot more flexibility there. But if you want to change the user input, the palette, and the viewer and stuff like that, that ordering you cannot change. Okay. All right. So what if I don't need a date picker? I want to delete it. Now the intuitive way of doing it does not work. If you click it here and then press the delete key, I guess it does now. Okay. There was one version of App Inventor where this doesn't work and then you have to do it the other way, but it does work. You just select it and then you delete, and it will confirm that you want to remove it. Okay, so now it's gone. Any questions about how to place components into the viewer pane of App Inventor? Just drag and drop. Okay. What if you want to change the size of something, like this button here? What if I want this button to be a lot bigger? Well, if you move to the corner of this thing, it doesn't show you a double-sided arrow like some of the other applications where the resizing tool looks like a double-sided arrow. It doesn't work here. So what you need to do is to change the property of the component. Now, once a component is clicked or selected, you will see it's being highlighted here. It's highlighted over here as well. So the properties pane is going to show you the properties of that particular component, things that you can tweak with that component, okay? And that's where you can change the size of it. So let's just go through some of the properties of a button. You can see you can change the background color. This is the default, but you can change it to something else. So you can pick something that is really annoying, like magenta. So now the button is magenta. What if you want to specify the text color to be something even more disturbing? I'm showing you guys what not to do with apps, okay? So let's say you want to change the text color. You go to text color here, and it can get its own color. So I think green or magenta can be quite annoying, like that. Yep, this is something that you should not do. I'm just showing you guys that you can do it. Doesn't mean that it's a good practice to do it. Okay, so for those of you who are more artistic and you just want to know how to design something that looks good, that's pleasing to the eye, what do you do?
What was the question again?
The question is, you take this class, and halfway through the class, or right at this point, you realize that tech is no good at designing something that looks good, maybe functional but doesn't look good. So what do you do if you want to learn how to make something look good?
Take a design class.
Take a design class. Very good. And which class are you gonna take?
CSS3 most likely. What is that? 321.
Well, that's one, but I'm not.
HTML.
Well, that's still not a design class. That is still a kind of just a technical class that talks about the technical aspect of HTML. There's a CSS class as well, but they only talk about like how to get things done, but not what looks good. Okay, so if you look into the schedule, sorry. There's one class here that is going to be useful. So let me take a look at the schedule. Okay. Open. It's in Art New Media. So if you go to our schedule, go to Art New Media, ARTNM. And I think they have a mobile design class. I could be wrong. Interactive. Okay, I stand corrected. I thought they had that
I
class.
think that's the one that was dropped.
Oh.
I was in that.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you got dropped.
Yeah, I got dropped, not enough attendance.
Because I knew that they had that offering, but I guess because of low enrollment, they dropped it. Oh, yeah, that sucks. Okay.
There's a web design class, and I haven't seen the description, but I presume any web design class worth it would probably talk about reactive design and thereby mobile design by.
That's correct, but not everything that you learn from web design can be applied to App Inventor, because App Inventor does restrict a little bit of how you can place the components, but it's going to be helpful. Okay, so I would recommend some of those other classes if you're into making your applications looking good and easy to interact and stuff like that. Okay, that's not the focus of this class. Okay, this class is a programming class. We focus on the logic and the programming aspect of apps. Okay, but these are the properties. But this is how you can kind of play with the properties of something. You can change the font size, 14 point being too small, change it to 28. Okay, you can also change the height and also the width of a button. Okay, so the height, once you click height, it gives you like a few options. The first one is automatic, where App Inventor will try to decide for you how wide and how tall a button should be. If you feel that's not what I want, you can click one of the other options. One is fill parent, which is probably not what you want to do with a button, because it really does fill up the entire screen, in this case height-wise, with your button. Okay, so you end up with a pretty gigantic button in that case. You can use pixels. You can specify the exact number of pixels. You can also specify a percentage of the entire height of the screen, or whatever is containing the button. So let's say I want this button to occupy about 25% of the whole screen, which is still pretty big. You just click OK, and you can see it is updated in the viewer itself. Okay, but none of this is being tested. Okay, if I look at my app, that is already installed on my phone, it has not seen any of the updates, because every time you want the application on an Android device to update, you have to redo the QR code thing. Okay, so I'm not going to do it until I have done enough changes. Okay, all right. So with a button, there are a few other things that are kind of interesting. You can also specify an image. In other words, instead of using text inside a button, you can use an image to display what the button is supposed to do. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll give you an example of how to do that. So what you need to do is to go to any type of search engine, and I just say the word add, look up the images, and I pick one of these bitmaps. Okay, maybe I will pick up this one, and I say view image. Okay, right click and copy image. Then I use a tool to turn it into a file so I can upload it. I don't have Photoshop because it's expensive and it takes up a lot of space. To do what I need to do, GIMP is more than sufficient. Okay, GIMP is open source, it's free. So I go into GIMP. The GIMP. Now for those of you who like to kind of play around with images and stuff like that, the GIMP actually has a lot of interesting features. I'm not going to teach that in this class. You can experiment with that stuff on your own. Okay, so what I need to do is just to export this particular image as a file. I'll just give it plus.png, and I can place it in some other folder. I just put it in the temp folder because I don't need it after this class, and export it. So now I can get back to App Inventor in the browser. Okay, get rid of this, and get back to App Inventor. So before you can utilize an image for anything, you have to put it into the media first. Okay, so let me show you which tab I'm talking about. Right here. So you can upload a file as a media file, which is a misnomer. Any file you want to include as a part of the project, this is how you upload it. At this point, we're going to limiting ourselves to bitmaps, sound files, and stuff like that. But later on in this semester, I will also show you guys how you can write code in JavaScript and integrate your JavaScript code into your App Inventor application. That's cool because App Inventor is sufficient for a lot of things, but when it comes to code density, it's not good at all. Okay, it takes up a lot of space just to specify a little bit of code. So if you know how to write programs in JavaScript already, you can actually write a part of the logic in JavaScript and have App Inventor interact with JavaScript code to get complicated stuff done, like encryption, decryption, and stuff like that. So that's not what I'm going to do today, just later. Okay, so I'm going to go to the browse, go to my temp folder, get back to my plus sign bitmap here, click open, click OK, and this is going to upload it. So now that I have uploaded plus.png as a resource, I go back to the properties of the button, I go to image, and this time I have a choice of plus.png, click OK, and now I have a button that doesn't look right. Now it doesn't look right for one reason. I forced the height to be 25% instead of the default. Okay, so let's change the height back to automatic. And now we have a huge add button, which I may not like either. Okay, so what do you do with a huge button?
Shrink it.
Change the percentage. Okay, so you can now go to the height and you just say, I would say about 30% of this is good. So you shrink one dimension, shrink the other dimension. There's no way to lock the percentage, unfortunately, but it's easy enough. They can just do it by hand. It still doesn't look right, does it? Yeah, it looks a little bit too long than it should. But you can tweak stuff like that. Okay.
The width is less than the height, so 30% of the width is going to be a lot smaller than 30%.
Oh, right, because it's relative to the whole screen. I'm not shrinking just. It's the percentage of the whole of the screen itself. Darn. I can specify pixels.
Yeah, let's do that.
Oh, forgot to click. Okay.
I found that working with images too, it's easier to throw them inside of a container because then when you switch from mobile, from a phone to a tablet, it doesn't get all stretched and skewed.
That's
because of the different screen size. So if you throw it inside of a horizontal container or a vertical container, it contains it better.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to containers later. I'm just illustrating what are properties of objects, but that's a good point. Yep. Okay, that was a hand a little bit earlier. Was there? Did anyone want to mention something? Ask a question?
I was just giving a thumbs up.
Oh, thumbs up. Okay. And now I don't need the text anymore, so I'm going to remove the text and just have the bitmap as the button. Okay, so far I have made a few changes to the program, but I haven't really updated the app that is on my phone. Okay, so every time you want to retest your application, you have to re-upload or re-download the application onto your phone. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I will go all the way up. Go to Build, Provide QR Code for APK, turn on the phone, go back to Google Goggles. There might be some better, code scanner applications out there, but I just use Google Goggles, which is actually creepy at times. Have you guys turned on Google Goggles and just go to a scenic place, like go to San Francisco, and look and take a picture of something? And it will tell you that you are, it seems like you're at this location looking at this. Okay, so I'm going to switch back to my document viewer so that you can see what's going on the screen. All right, so this time it identified several things that is of interest because I got included. I got the link for first class included as well. So I'm going to pick on the second one here, which is the link to the APK file. So this starts up the download process, and it renames the file to -1 because I have one called first class already. So this is first class -1, and click the download thing, and it should be downloaded already because it's really a small file. So let's go here. Okay, and because it's an APK file, Android automatically asks, do you want to install it? So I click install. And then I can open the application, and you can see this is a new version. I don't have add spelled out for the button. Instead, I have the bitmap of a plus sign. So that's kind of the development cycle. I know it's not like, oh, I want to click one single button and have the application updated. Few steps involved, but this is the most reliable way to do it. Okay, because now your PC does not even need to run on the same network as your phone. Okay. Are there any questions about this process? No questions? Okay.
Questions will be probably when we will try to do it ourselves.
Well, in that case, let me know if you do run into problems. Let me know. Okay. Any questions? No. Okay. So I can already tell you that in this semester you will work on a final project. Okay, so your final grade depends on some of the examinations, but I will also give you guys a final project to work on. I don't have any set topic for your final project. I want you to find something that interests you to work on. Okay, so that means as quote unquote your homework assignment. Okay, I give you about a week or two to think of something that you want to write an app for. Okay, so I want you to think of something that you really want to write an app for. Now that can be your hobby. Okay, does anyone want to mention something about your hobby that you think, hey, I think I can use an app for this? Nobody? Okay, so you guys don't have hobbies, or you just don't want to mention it? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I do transportation for Boy Scouts group.
Okay.
And I would need to write an app that will automatically calculate the cost per scout based on several factors.
Okay, so that's a legitimate application. Yep, go ahead.
I was doing newspaper routes, and it'd be cool to have a GPS and a map locator so you could order newspapers, so you could almost like Pokemon Go, so that you could throw it to a house.
Okay.
Check it off. That'd be really hard, I would think. But it's an app.
That might be possible. Okay, but that's a good point. So
It saves a lot. It would save a lot of paper because they print out sheets of stick of houses that need to be.
Okay, that might be possible. So I'm okay. So just for that, I'm gonna give you. Let me answer that too.
Well, I was working on something, so it was just more working on it for the web, but I really want an aggregation system where I can kind of aggregate different chat and IRC channels into a single chat/IRC channel.
That might be a little difficult to do.
With them seems fairly good as long as you use like XM and stuff, but IRC, nobody's really done any good IRC integration
Okay.
as far as I've seen. And
That-
most of it is GUIs too, so it's not like CLI in terms of things
That could be a little more difficult because App Inventor is not really good at database and filtering and stuff like that. It can be done. It's just not something that's natively good at. But I do want to address the paper route thing. Okay, so what you want to do when you want to determine what your project is about is take a quick glance. Just take a quick glance of what is available, in App Inventor. User interface just basically shows you what you can use to display stuff on the screen, okay? And you can definitely play with this stuff here. None of this is going to break your phone, okay? It's not going to break your phone. It's not going to brick your phone. So it's safe. But what you really want to do is to look at the other stuff that is also available. Layout is not that interesting from the functional perspective. They can help you arrange things on the screen so they look right, okay? So it's nice to have to make things look right, but it's not really that core to what you can do with it. But when you look into media, you start to get something that's interesting. You can have camcorders, video recording in your app. You can have a camera to take just still, pictures. Image picker allows you to go through your media files and pick out, a particular picture. A player allows you to play just about any media. Sound recorder, speech recognizer. Okay, so you can do speech recognition. Text to speech, you can send it the text and it will actually say out loud, based on what you pass to it. Video player and stuff like that. So this is starting to get interesting because now your app has the potential of taking pictures, taking videos, or playing media files. So that gives you some of the options. Now, I have to say right away, because every semester someone has the ambition of saying, oh, I want to take a video and then analyze the video in App Inventor. You cannot quite do that, okay? The analysis of pictures or videos or sound files is not really that well suited to App Inventor. But doing the recording part is easy, okay? Drawing and animation is all about canvas. Basically, you can have an area. You can basically make simple 2D games with the canvas. Okay, so think of the Commodore 64, that sort of game. Okay, so that's possible. But what really interests me are the sensors. So you do have access to most of the sensors available, either virtual or physical sensors on the phone. You have access to the accelerometer sensor. In other words, if you want to have an app to kind of track jogging or movement and stuff like that, that's what you want to use. Okay? If you want to make an app, people have done this to death already, to make a software level, okay? You can do that too.
Make a software level?
Huh?
What was that?
Software level, like a bubble level.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that has been done to death many, many times already. You do have access to your orientation sensor, which is your compass, and you have proximity sensor, which is the thing that's usually on the top of your phone that detects whether you're holding the phone against your ears or not. That's the proximity sensor. You have location sensor, which is your GPS. Okay, so for the paper route, that's a starting point. Okay, so you go to the location sensor. You click the question mark and say, okay, what is it? It provides location information, including longitude, latitude, altitude, speed if it is moving and supported by the device, and address. So that gives you a few things that you can determine whether this is sufficient for what you want to do or not. Okay? Any questions about the sensors? Yep.
The proximity sensor, in that sense, like, could you incorporate SARS into that?
Well, let's take a look. Okay. It measures the proximity of an object in cm relative to the view screen of a device. It's typically used to determine whether a handset is held up against a person's ear. So it doesn't give you a really good range. It really is just, really close range type of proximity. So I'm not really sure whether that helps you or not. Okay. Question? Oh, okay. Sorry. Yep.
On the location sensor, it says it returns the address. Does that mean like a street address?
Yeah, it does. Yep, go ahead.
Is there a way to integrate like Google Maps or routes?
That might be a little difficult, but there's one particular component that may accomplish at least a part of that. Okay, so I'm going to go through all of these tabs, and one of those may be able to do what you are thinking. Okay, so in terms of social, you can pick out a contact. There's also sharing, which is kind of cool because this allows you to specify how you want to share a particular file. Okay, you can pick out. It basically gives you the picker So you want to share by Gmail, Messenger. If you have WeChat installed, that's one of the options, and so on. So you can actually share files, using your own app. Texting is interesting. It's kind of long because it doesn't just limit itself to be able to send out text, but you can also register your app to be the one to process incoming texts. Okay? So it can be good, can be bad, because if you have a fault in your phone, in your app, and you have a limited plan where they would charge you per text, your faulty app can rack up your text charges for that month. So be very careful when you use the texting component, because that can potentially happen. It hooks up to Twitter, and you can also use email and phones and stuff like that. So it does give you a lot of options as far as communicating or connecting with people. Storage is sort of interesting. You have access to files, so you can basically write files, read files specific to your project, as well as to other locations on your phone. But what is more interesting is TinyDB. It allows you to store just little bits of information about your app, so it's persistent. In other words, let's say your app has preferences. Okay, you offer the end user certain preferences. It's like, okay, you can control the text size, you can control the layout, the background color, and stuff like that. And you want the app to be able to store that and remember it, so that when you restart the phone, your app can pick it up from last time. Okay, that's how you use TinyDB, because it's a very easy to use interface to just store little bits of information. Yeah, question?
Is that used with like settings?
Say again?
Is that used with like settings?
No, it doesn't hook up to the settings part of Android, so it's really specific to your own app. But it's also persistent, which means it's stored on the drive itself. It's not just in RAM, and it's easy to get back to. You don't have to do a whole lot of parsing. It's just like one block. Gets back the value.
Does that also include text values entered within text fields?
If you want to,
Yeah.
you just have to give it a name.
So like the login information, it can be saved so that it's persistent the next time?
You can, yeah, but I would hesitate to store login information.
Okay.
For security
Yeah,
purposes.
for security
Because
purposes.
all of this stuff is stored in plain text.
Okay.
And so anyone who has physical access to your device will be able to get to the text file and see what it is.
Gotcha.
Yep. So I would hesitate to store anything that's sensitive. There's connectivity. Now this is kind of cool because the names do not really tell you what they can do. Web, I guess it does. Okay. So it's a not visible component that provides functions of HTTP, GET, POST, PUT, and delete. Okay. If you don't understand what this is, it's okay. Don't worry. On the other hand, if you have taken web scripting classes and you kind of know, I know how to write scripts on the server side and stuff like that, this allows your app to interact with a server-side script somewhere else, so that you can have any type of interaction between your phone app and a server that is running somewhere else in the cloud. Which opens up all kinds of possibilities, all kinds. If you can control both ends, you have a lot of flexibility. Yep.
The Java web services that they use for that too.
Java.
Web services.
Yeah.
They use GET.
Just about anything that's HTTP based, make use of these particular requests. So the question is, do you know how to format the query as an URL, okay, as a universal resource locator, so that the other side understands what you're trying to request? But once you know how to format your URL, this opens up all kinds of possibilities. Bluetooth client versus Bluetooth server means that if you have a Bluetooth GPS device, and you understand, how it communicates, using text, you can write your app to interact with that Bluetooth-enabled GPS device. Okay, so once you know how to communicate using Bluetooth, which is usually just serial, text, you can now have your app to interact with that particular Bluetooth device. Activity Starter is a very underutilized component, and yet it is kind of complicated at the same time. this is how you can use your app to start up other applications. So from your app, you can start up Google navigation. So let's say your app is the Boy Scout scheduling thing, and at some point, okay, it's time to go to this location. This allows you to start up Google navigation from your app to that address. Okay, so that gives you, lots of toys to play with. Yep.
Could you fire up an app that you didn't make, like say,
Yep, absolutely.
so that you could use a few of these components whenever you catch a Pokemon. I mean, this app fired up whenever you catch a Pokemon, it shares your GPS location and what Pokemon or the object information.
But Pokemon Go cannot start other applications, so you will have to do it manually.
Right. But
Right.
this one, you could fire that up first, which would do a chain reaction. No?
It allows you to start up any application and pass information to the other application. But you need to understand how the other applications work and receive information from the outside. But it does open up all kinds of possibilities.
So they can continually talk back and forth.
It's not back and forth, it's mostly just one way.
Okay.
It's only when the other application is done, then it can return a result back to your application. But when the other application is in the foreground, your application is just sitting in the background, not doing much. But it does give you some flexibility. Now this one I like a lot, okay, because in my previous life, I deal with a lot of robotics and stuff like that. So the NXT is a robotic kit from Lego. How many people know what is Lego? And NXT is a robotic kit. And you can communicate with a robotic kit using Bluetooth. So this is actually one layer on top of the Bluetooth layer. So now you can have your phone to control a NXT-based robot. And you can control its motion, you can query the sensors and stuff like that. And it can be, I would say, a lot of fun. Okay? I actually wrote some apps, in App Inventor and hook it up to an NXT robot so you can search for stuff, look for stuff, and just kind of explore the surrounding and stuff like that. Okay? And now it has the extension of EV3, which is a newer version of NXT. These are expensive Lego kits, but if you're into it, they're actually well worth it. And then you got experimental stuff, Firebase Db. It's basically a database-ish kind of thing. It's web-based, it's hosted in the cloud, has a lot of flexibility. And extension, there's not a whole lot right now. So I encourage you to kind of glance through all the different components when you try to come up with an idea of, okay, what do I want to do, with my app as my final project. You have the entire semester to work on it, but you really have to pace yourself and start early. Just kind of think, okay, I want to get this done, and actually think about it, all the time, so that as we introduce all these different components and programming techniques, you can apply right away and get parts of your project done. Are there any specific questions about any of these components that I have just mentioned? No questions? All right.
Is there a gallery of extensions? I've never seen any extensions for them.
Well, let's click on that link because it does have a link here of import extension.
It's for importing.
So it gives you, I guess you can look up the open source documentation of App Inventor and find out what kind of file specifies extensions. Because from what it looks like, it is something that allows you to define your own component.
Right.
So there has got to be some kind of specifications to support that. Yep.
So an app that was written in this, how easy do you think it would be to port it to iOS? Or do you think that would be an option?
I don't think there are any easy ways to do it.
Or what would you typically write an app in for iOS?
Well, for something like that, I'm just going to look it up. Well, that's thunkable. So start building for Android today and migrate when thunkable for iOS launches.
Somebody's already funked about doing this before, but they haven't done it yet.
Something along that line. Well, okay, so I kind of have to put things in perspective. App Inventor is capable. It's a great tool for learning programming, and that's why I think cisp300 is a really great co-requisite of this class, because 300 is a little bit dry and boring. You're just learning concepts, okay? But this class allows you to apply those concepts and crank out applications that is fun and usable to you, at least, okay? But as far as really finished product is concerned, App Inventor is not really quite ready for finished products. In other words, it will work, but it's going to look kind of clunky, okay? Especially when you have high resolution devices and smaller devices, it's going to look clunky, okay? But it's functional. But it won't be, if you want to charge someone money for an app, App Inventor may not get you there. But on the other hand, if you just say that, hey, I can use an app that can do X, Y, and Z because it's just convenient and beneficial to myself, hey, this is great. So that's why, I'm not too concerned about porting to iOS when it's still in App Inventor stage. It's a great way as a proof of concept, but it's not quite suitable for finished products. Is that okay?
Yep.
Okay, yep.
So it's good for like brainstorming and stuff.
It's great for brainstorming because instead of spending half an hour just to get the app that I was talking about to run, it's like just a few minutes. You just throw things together and say, okay, how's the functionality? Does it work? But it's not really good for refinement because it doesn't give you those options to refine an app. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, I think we are ending at 1:20. So what I'll do is I'm going to try out the GPS, the location sensor, to see if we can get the address of where I am. Okay. So we'll go ahead and throw something together real quick, just as another illustration. So I go to projects, start a new project here, and I just call that GPS. And all I want to do is to display my current location. So I'm going to use just a label to display my current location. But since I'm going to use GPS, I also have to go to sensors and drag the location sensor into the application. It's called an invisible or non-visible component because it actually cannot be seen on the screen, but it is still a component. Okay, so what I want to do now is to click on location sensor and show you the properties. Distance interval. Okay, let me just turn on the help first because this is a better way to show that. Okay, so this is the web page that relates to location sensor. It has certain properties, accuracy, and so on and so forth. Time interval determines the minimum time interval in milliseconds that the sensor will try to use for sending out location updates. However, location updates will only be received when the location of the phone actually changes, and use of specified time interval is not guaranteed. For example, if 1000 is used as the time interval, location updates will never fired sooner than 1000 milliseconds, but they may be fired anytime after. So you're specifying the minimum time interval for updates. Okay, so if you don't want to chew up your battery, for instance, okay, you can set this up to be higher so they won't try to locate or turn on the GPS sensor all the time. Okay. So let's go back to this here. Okay, so right now the time interval is set to 60,000 milliseconds, which amounts to 60 seconds or 1 minute. Okay, so you can go ahead and change this to some other numbers, like 10,000, which amounts to 10 seconds. Okay, so every 10 seconds, we'll get an update no sooner than every 10 seconds. That's basically what it means. I want to have it enabled to begin with. And distance interval, is 0, which means I think that means it will get itself updated all the time. So let me just double check. Distance interval determines the minimum distance interval in meters that the sensor will try to use for sending out location updates. For example, if this is set to 5, then the sensor will fire a location change event only after 5 meters have been traversed. However, the sensor does not guarantee that an update will be received exactly at the distance traveled. It may take more than 5 meters to fire an event, for instance. Okay. So we can change that one to, let's say, 1. Okay. And then we go to blocks to actually specify the code. Now, this is also a great place to explain the principle of App Inventor or any type of app programming. It's event-driven. In other words, the program, your app, doesn't do a single thing until something happens, in quotes. Something happening is called an event. And you are basically specifying, when this happens, I want you to do that. Okay? It's called an event handler. So in this case, a label does not have any events because a label is a static thing. But a location sensor does have events because things can happen. You can be moving and changing location. So I can say, if when the location changed, I want to do something. Okay? So inside here, I can specify the blocks. I just want to update the text, the label of the text of the label. So I go to label 1 and say change the text to something. It has got latitude, longitude, altitude, and speed. I'm not interested in one of those. What I am interested in,
This is the same class that was over across.
it is the same class, just the lab portion.
My schedule shows it different. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome to count again. So I want to use the current address here. So I just stick it here. So I will update the text box to the current address. All right, that's my entire app. Okay, just saying, okay, where am I right now based on the GPS location. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Build, provide QR code for APK. Turn on my phone, go to Google Goggles. Okay, here's the QR code. And there we go. The trick is to get the camera closer to the screen so it doesn't pick up any extra stuff, so it will actually interpret the link correctly. Okay, so I click okay here, switch back to my document camera. Alright, so you can see that it did pick up the link correctly, which is this one here. So once again, it will go ahead and download the file, the APK file. And once it's downloaded, I will click on it to install the app and open it. Okay, it's downloaded. So we go to gps.apk, and this time you can see that it does ask me for the permission to access approximate location, network-based, and access precise location, which is GPS and network-based. So I click install. Now, in order for this part to work, you might need to go to developer option on your phone to turn on so that it can install apps or APK files that are not signed properly. Okay, so we say open. And it only displays text for label 1 for now because I haven't moved at all. So what I'll do is I'm gonna take this, walk around, and wait. And it'll be 10 seconds.
You have to walk with you.
Oh, it just updated. And you can combine this with the accelerometer for jogging, so you can actually track your location and your steps. So right now it has updated, and we got the location. So it does work, Now this is where a virtual device may not be very helpful because a virtual device does not have a GPS sensor. Now there are ways to feed GPS location to a virtual device for debugging purposes, so that may be workable, but it's not going to be nearly as much fun to actually have an actual device. So are there any questions about what I have demonstrated today? No questions? Okay. So you are more than welcome to jump ahead of me and just play with the other type of components, especially the ones that you think will be helpful to you. Okay? And remember, I don't think you can actually break your phone or brick your phone using App Inventor. So the worst that can happen is, this app does not work. Okay, just stay away from the text thing, so you don't end up sending like 20,000 texts. When it's like how many cents per text now? With limited accounts.
I have no idea.
Most of us probably have an unlimited plan anyway. So, yeah.
One thing I had to do in order to install apps.
To uninstall?
No,
Same.
to install.
To
I had
install?
to change the developer settings to
Yes.
allow app installation.
Yep. Yep. So let me show you guys how to do that. Everything that I do is still getting recorded. So what you do is go to settings. Most phones don't even have that enabled. Okay. So if you scroll all the way to the end of the phone or the setup screen, and you don't see the developer option, what you want to do is to click on About Phone. And you go to, mine is a little bit different because I got Cyanogen mod, but you go to the kernel version and you keep clicking it until it gives you that option and say that, okay, turning on developer option in 5 more clicks or something like that. Okay, it's either that or build number. I cannot remember. Okay, it's build number, sorry. So you have to basically click on build number many times. And then eventually it will start to show you the countdown of 5 more clicks to enable developer option. And then once it's enabled, you want to go back to developer option. And the one specific thing that we want to enable is either here or in the apps, but I cannot remember where.
It's in here.
It's in here?
Yeah.
Mine
Allow
brought me
installations
right to the,
Well, you guys can read a
mine
lot
brought
fast.
me right to the screen when I tried to install it. It wasn't, didn't seem like it was hidden very well.
Huh.
Depends on your version of Android too.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the thing.
They hit it in the last one too, I think.
Okay, where was that again? To enable installing apps. Maybe it's here. Nope. There is one place where you can specify whether to install apps without signing. And okay, if it's not here, it's under apps. Nope, doesn't look like it's here.
Are you running a repackaged?
Oh, app per, huh?
Are you running a repackaged ROM? Like this standard ROM from Android?
No, this is a Cyanogen mod.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's different.
So is app permissions? No, that's not it. Okay. I can't remember where that link is. But there is a place where you can specify that you want to be able to install apps, without signing.
Mine's under lock screen and security.
Security?
Unknown sources, lock screen and security.
Okay.
What do you run in ice cream?
Security. Okay. Unknown sources, that's it. So under security, under unknown sources, you
6.01,
can
whatever that is.
you can enable that by saying allow installation of apps from unknown
It's
sources.
the newest one, I think.
You guys are checking the versions.
Yeah.
I think mine is fairly new.
6.1.
Yeah, same one. Oh, we're looking at
Yeah, 601, 6.0.1. The Cyanogen mod is usually pretty up to date. Okay, any other questions? Yep.
So which app do you use for the barcode scan?
Say that again?
Which app do you use for the barcode scan?
I use Google Goggles, Goggles. But there are many other scanners out there too. I'm not sure which one is the best, but this one works.
Thank you.
And it works kind of in creepy ways too, because if you take a picture of the sign of ARC or something like that, it will pop up the web address of ARC and say, hey, are you interested in taking classes?
Marshmallow.
It's really cool when you're out shopping too. You can use labels and get all the ingredients of a can of peas, stuff like that. So it provides advanced media from a label or from the bar scan code.
It's creepy of how much information it's trying to get out of photographs. Yep. All right. Well, we are running out of time today, so I'm hoping that this gives you guys a head start on this class. On Wednesday, I will probably get my script working, so we don't have to spend that much time to start the screen recorder. So that would be nice. So is this working, the document camera thing? Can you guys see what is happening on my phone well enough? Okay, it's good. Okay, very good. I picked this up for $26 from eBay. Yep.
And these videos will be available to us on the
Yes. Okay. So that's a good question. Okay, how do I get to the videos? So you just go to YouTube, and you go to some profs, and that's my channel. So if you look at the URL right now, it's youtube.com. You can type the user thing, but it's not required. If you just do the some profs right after youtube.com, then we get to my channel. So once you get to the channel, you click on videos, which will show the videos in reversed chronological order, which means the latest one is going to be displayed first, okay, which is probably what most people want. And I named the classes based on the date of the class and also the course name of the class. So that's why today is going to be 2016-0822, and this is cisp362, and the lab has its own video because they're two separate videos. So that's how you can locate videos. But you can also search here and locate stuff that I have already put up here. So if you look up cisp362, you will be able to retrieve basically all the videos that I have recorded in previous offerings of this class. So you can actually study ahead of time, because you can just watch all the videos and know, oh, Tech is going to talk about this next time. Sometimes I change the order, because if I do it the same way every single time, it will bore myself to death. But it does give you an extra resource. Any other questions? That's a good one. Any other questions? I'll see you guys on Wednesday. It will probably take me a little bit of time to upload everything. So if it's not up by tomorrow morning, just send me an email and just remind me. But I'll probably be working on this tonight. All right. Well, so welcome to the first day of class. Well, for most of us, if you take online classes, they officially start on Saturday, like the previous Saturday. All righty. Have a good day. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
I have a very basic question. My name is Nadia, and I'm an international student. I contacted before in spring,
Okay.
and brought my transcripts from Ukraine diploma that I had this algorithm class there, and somebody contacted you from computer from business and computers department, and I say that you were okay with this transcript. My transcripts are here in NIRC. So what should I upload to?
Okay, so what you need to do, so have you filled in one of those prerequisite challenge forms?
I filled something, but I don't remember what it was.